So just as supplement, we'll keep adding these from People of the Earth book. This looks at Europe. So we looked at Southwest Asia already a little bit. We'll add Europe here. So again, we are looking in the Holocene, 10,000 years to the present. We looked in chapter 5 about hunter-gatherers, and we've talked about these settlements in Southwest Asia and Anatolia already in the previous chapter, and we'll come to more civilizations in this region from more recent times in chapter 16. In the meantime, going from hunter-gatherers to first farmers in Europe, it's much more recent, so starts just around 6,000 years ago. Franchti, Karanovo, Arjisa, Magula, and Varna. You can look up the map for this. And in temperate Europe, so higher latitudes, you have the Mesolithic cultures that are found, as we saw in chapter 5, and then you have more recently Banceramic and agriculture in northwest and Tripoli. So the innovations include farming in Southwest Asia already in place, farming in Greece and southeastern Europe starting here around 7,000 years ago in the Holocene climatic optimum, and the Euxine Lake fills here, which is our Noah's flood that we talked about earlier, I think. I'm doing the two books separately, so I'm maybe a little bit disoriented in terms of what came before this podcast, but it is the glacial melt of the late Middle Holocene which created the Black Sea. Farming then spreads to northwest. Copper working starts in megaliths, and the plow is invented here as well much later. This is a map showing early farming areas in Southwest Asia and southeastern Europe. Arrows show possible routes by which the new economies spread. This is why we are putting them together. The Jordan Valley and Eastern Mediterranean here, here, okay. The Kayonu region, so we are coming back to what we didn't make explicit before, on the Euphrates river, and 3 and 4 the Anatolian region, which we talked about, Turkey and Greece and so on, including the Kataloyuk and Hasilar. So 5 is Cyprus, of course, which is now split into Greek and Turkish Cyprus. 6 is Crete here, another island of Greece. Franchti Cave here in this part of the Europe, coming down around the Aegean Sea. Again, okay, what else? We have Macedonia and the Balkans, Balkan regions with Danube River running through here. So you can see that there would have been links between them with networks, maybe already some navigation over the oceans becoming much more common, other forms of trades, of course, coming into the age of discovery and before, the trading from all the way across into Asia was well established, which we may visit a little bit later on. So the archaeological sites in temperate Europe and distribution of Bandekarmic, Keramic, Danubian pottery, Cargill ware, and Western Neolithic cultures are shown here. So that's the Danubian. There is the Danube River coming down into Macedonia and these regions. Cardial region is up here. Okay. Oops, sorry, down here. The Balkan Neolithic is here, and the Western farmers spread over here into the island over here as well. Okay, so you can see that the cardial distribution, archaeological sites spread all the way into the Iberian Peninsula as well, and down Italy into almost into Sicily. The reconstruction of band ceramic farming complex showing long houses and field boundaries. So there are some details about land ownership and what religion says and what we are supposed to do in terms of exploiting the land, but gives you a sense that property ownerships and hierarchical social complex settings were beginning to be common, and there were differentiated regions of food production versus grazing, so cattle pasture over here, and you would be protecting the crops, of course, from other people and from cattle as well, I suspect, and arable land, so rubbish pit here, so you can see how complicated the society was becoming. Post holes, split logs, so the construction materials used, thatched huts here, and so on. So the structure is beginning to become clear. So livestock pen, possibly for sheep, is found here, and wattle and daub over here, and so on and so forth. So just a brief summary. European Mesolithic lasted from about 8000 BC to the introduction of farming in northwestern Europe in around 4000 BC. There were considerable local variations with a trend toward more permanent settlements in more favored areas. By about 6000 BC, farming was well established in parts of the Aegean area and in southeastern Europe. Agriculture and animal husbandry developed in southeastern Europe because of a local shift to more intensive exploitation of cereals and wild sheep, and also because of a drift of domestic animals and cereals from Southwest Asia. This was largely indigenous development. The widely distributed band ceramic complex documents the first settlement of southeastern European farmers in the middle Danube Valley and on the light loess soils of Central Europe around 5000. Loess is basically fine dust that is transported around and can be used as an indicator of how dry or how wet the climate was at the time. This may be, of course, it's also used for construction, and the big loess hills in China are in fact occupied with houses being built in them. This may be connected, at least in part, with fallout from the flooding of the Euxine Lake, which became the Black Sea, so the Noah's flood. The flooding may have caused people to move into forested lands and away from the lake. So unlike the narration of Noah's flood, Genesis, whatever that was, where the Bible mentions this, Noah's Ark and so on, it wasn't a global event, it was very much a local event related to a glacier melt and sea level rise, of course. During the next millennium, food production spread widely throughout Europe, largely among indigenous Mesolithic peoples who adopted sheep, pottery, cereals, which they considered of immediate advantage to them. From about 4500 BC, new religious ideologies spread widely in Central and Western Europe, as indicated by the building of communal burial mounds and megalithic monuments. Some of these new beliefs are thought to reflect centuries-old ideologies connected with the longhouses and communal ethics of band ceramic farmers. Others derived from Central and Eastern Europe were beliefs growing out of the emergence of individual power and prestige as a potent factor in local life, power reflected in the growing numbers of exotic artifacts and materials. Of course, the rich did it in different way than the poor, so the burial sites and the tombs and the details inside the material buried with the dead bodies indicates also the hierarchy of the society, where the person may have been in the social hierarchy, and so on and so forth. Let me leave this here, and we'll come back and look at Egypt and Africa in the next podcast. Okay?